Hey guys, it's Will here. In the last video, I talked about relative strength and using ratio charts to compare two different stocks or ETFs. And that way, if you compare it to the S&P 500 as the benchmark, instead of just looking at the chart, like if you look at Tesla or something like this, and it looks like it's in a good position to buy, what you can do is compare it to other stocks or S&P or other ETFs and try to find the best, strongest sectors or stocks. So sometimes you'll look at something and it looks nice on a chart, but it's not. It might go up as well, but the other things are going to go up a lot more, just based on the strength. So in the last video, I showed doing that with TradingView. If we go to TradingView and you type in two different ETFs, let's say, you'll see this is the bets divided by SPY, so it's gambling, stuff like that. And you can see that we're in an uptrend here. But what I want to do, the problem is that what I was doing was looking at, I'm not an expert on TradingView in terms of like really detailed stuff, but I've got things that I look at, but mostly I'm using TC2000. But instead of clicking on these and looking at them to see, if they're in a position to buy or not, what I've done with TC2000 is created this section down here. And the beauty of that is you can scan all the stocks and ETFs for whatever pattern you're looking for. And I'll show that. So in order to do this, what you want to do is first you want to add the relative strength versus SPY to your chart. So the way you do that is you right click on a chart and you say add plot, and then you would type in relative strength, and you can see here that it gives you these options. And so when you pick the relative strength versus the S&P 500, you'll get this line here, and you can change that to candlesticks, but a line works fine. And then what you do is you right click and you say add plot. And if you're going to do, say, like a moving average, you type in moving, you get this simple. What happens is it'll show you, like by default, the price. So you're doing a moving average of the price. But what you want to do is a moving average of the relative strength. So that's important to change it from the stock price to the relative strength. And you do the same thing for the 21 exponential and the 50. So you can see here that I've got the relative strength versus the SPY, which is this line here, this blue line. And then you have moving average 50, 21, and 200. If you click on this, actually, if I hover over it, you'll see that it's based on the relative strength, and all these three are. So now I have moving averages of the relative strength line. And what you're trying to do is you want to you want to have like an uptrend in the relative strength. And the moving averages kind of help you see uptrends, like the 21 is moving up. This is a nice uptrend here. The 50 is moving up, the 200. So they're all kind of in line. The 21's above the 50, 50 above the 200. So the beauty of setting up this is that you can scan all your stocks and ETFs. So by setting up these things, like normally, if you were looking for moving averages, it would be on the price. Or if you said, like, if I say up here 21's above the 50, it's going to be based on the price. So you can create indicators. I'll show you what I mean. So if I go up here and I go easy scan, and I'm going to type in relative strength. So I've got this one. I've created a condition, and that means that the 21 is above the 50 for the relative strength, and also the relative strength is above the 50. okay? So when you add a criteria, you can put multiple conditions together, and then you save them, and you can call it whatever you want. So if you create like price, volume, and whatever, your different conditions, once you have that, instead of doing that over and over again, you save that. So now what I can do is apply it to scan results. So I'm going to change the results. I'm going to change the scan. I want to look at US stocks. So now I'm going to look at US stocks that are like in a relative strength position in an uptrend. So it's not just the relative strength I'm looking at. So if we look at DOR, you can see that it's using the criteria that the 21 is above the 50 and the relative strength is above the 50 as well. GameStop. So these are ways you can find things that are doing better than the S&P 500. So if I look at ETFs, and we look at this bulk shipping ETF, you can see that we've been in quite an uptrend. So just alone, obviously the chart is looking good, it's in an uptrend, but another verification and validation of like finding ones that are actually doing better than the S&P 500 is by looking at the relative strength. So we have this going up. If I look at home builders, for example, we have this nice uptrend, and we can see that we were in a downtrend. We hit the 200. Now we're back up. This is relative strength. So we're in a increasing relative strength relative to the S&P. So from my searches so far, the S&P is quite a strong index, and it takes. Not everything is going to beat it. So you want to make sure if you're picking things. I'll give you an example. You've got utilities that have been perking up. You see this uptrend here, and we have a nice uptrend, but we're at this, this point of resistance potentially here. But if we look at the chart, we've been in this big downtrend. It's starting to pick up. Relative strength has come up from this point. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll draw a little line just to kind of show that we're in an uptrend. And now we have crossed the 50, and the relative strength is above the 50. So this is actually, a sign that we have increasing strength as well. So it's not just going up, but it's actually doing better than the S&P. Ideally, the 50 would be above the 200, and we'd be all in an uptrend there, like back here. So you can see before the crash in March of 2020 that the utilities really ramped up here. And not only that, but the relative strength compared to the S&P was in an uptrend. The 21 was above the 50, and we ended up crossing above. And depending on, you had this drop and a reversal, and then another big drop. So depending on, obviously utilities drops as well. So it's not like if you hold utilities during a crash, you're going to lose money, but it won't be as much as other things. But the point is more to look at it as an indicator, so that you can see that that the utilities was ramping up quite a bit. So people were moving to a safe, and that's sort of happening now. But not at the point where we've gotten above the 200. But you can see how it was down, and then it started to go up in this uptrend. So anyway, what I wanted to point out was that you're able to use scans in TC2000 using the relative strength, the ratio charts that I talked about. So instead of going into TradingView and typing in every chart divided by SPY, this is always going to be for the SPY, and you can, anytime you click on a chart, it's going to show you that, so you can quickly look and make sure that it's, ideally doing better than the S&P 500. And if you wanted to change it to a different index, like over time, you could use the NASDAQ, or you could use other stocks if you're comparing. You can set up, what I did here was I set up a new tab. So if you wanted to do the exact same thing, but maybe use the NASDAQ, but you don't want to switch back and forth, if you right click on this tab, you can say duplicate, and then you can go in and change it to another indice or an index, or use a stock or whatever. If you want to get TC2000, check out the link in the description below. A lot of people have been signing up for it, so I thank you for that. If you want to get the gold, I've got gold membership, and that allows me to look at the pre-market, which you can see up here. I'm actually looking at stocks in the pre-market, so I can see what's happening. And also I've got the real-time data, US real-time data, so I can see stocks in real-time data. And you can get a $25 off discount if you decide to purchase it. And there's a link down below for a free trial or the $25 off. And we'll see you guys in the next video.